incinerating fear through moving without proof and through aligned action. So I'm going to bring on Selena today, who is literally so amazing at looking fear dead in the eye. And this is such a powerful and important question, or important conversation rather, for healers, because we move through a lot of fears. We look fears dead in the eye. We want to give ourselves the opportunity to look the dragon dead in the eye and give ourselves the opportunity to melt away that fear so you can live out your purpose and passion. Selena is one of our founding healers inside of our Quantum Illumination Reiki certification program. I'm going to bring her on. Waiting for it to connect. Lena is in Germany. She is a student teacher, and the work that she is able to bring into the education system through her healing work is so amazing. But I would love for you, Selena, to share a little bit about you. I just did a little bit, but I would love for you to just riff on who you are, where you're from, yeah, your spiritual journey, anything you're feeling called to share.
So yeah, I'm a teacher for German and English, and I guess I started being in the spiritual area since I'm 16, I guess. And yeah, I like to travel. I guess that's the first thing you know when you get to know me. I have a dog who's always running away if I'm talking on the phone because it's just she thinks it's strange. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm I was like just thinking when like a little bit ago, I was like, I remember, gosh, I want to say it was a couple years ago. It was kind of like you went off the map, off the grid, and you spent like what, like 3 months or something like that, like on a farm. Yeah. Okay, yes. Tell us about that experience and tell us like who you were before, the fears that you moved through in deciding to do it, and what happened because of it.
So it was after I finished my studies. And at that point, I was trying to think about where I want to continue, like at which school, in which area I wanted to be a student teacher at, and also deciding on who is going to be my mentor for the time as a student teacher. And yeah, I don't know. I always wanted to spend like a set time abroad, so not just a couple of weeks. So I decided to go on a farm stay. I didn't like say where I wanted to go. I just knew I wanted to go somewhere for, let's say, 3 to 5 months. And I wanted to bring my dog. And yeah, so in the end, I ended up in Ireland, and it was a farm. It was basically in the middle of nowhere. Well, it was right next to a mountain. So I always had the opportunity to climb to the top of the mountain, which was just like, I don't know, 40 minutes to go to the top, and then you had the most amazing view to all the areas.
Okay.
A- And I know when I arrived, it was, well, the owner of the farm picked me up at the airport, and I didn't really think it would be hard for me to adjust because I knew that I was able to speak the English, also the Irish accent I would be able to understand because we had conversations before. And I also love to work with animals, and well, I'm also writing, so I knew to work in a stable, so it was not new, and also language wasn't new. And then I arrived there, and I think it was for maybe half of the time, like for almost 2 months, I was really thinking about going back because I felt so, I don't know, I felt like it was the wrong place. I didn't feel like they understand what my interests are. So I don't know, it was just a weird time, and I wanted to leave that place. And I can't tell what changed. So there wasn't like a point where I had a conversation with someone and then things changed and it got better. But it turned out at the end that I didn't want it to leave. So I was very close to saying, I'm going to stay there because like the neighbors, like 5 minutes with the quad through the fields. they were also just starting to be like self-sufficient, so they didn't want to go grocery shopping and all that, so they wanted to grow everything on their farm. And they also started a school for their kids and some friends. So I was like, I can work here. So I was very close to not leaving the place. And I think if you would compare the person I've been before I traveled to Ireland and after, there's definitely an increase in confidence. Before, I was literally scared of starting my journey as a student teacher because everyone was saying, like, it's so stressful. You need to do like 100 things at a time. It's super stressy, and really think about if you really want to do it. And so I was scared that it might be too much. And then I came back and was like, yes, of course I'm doing it. And also knew where. So a lot of clarity.
Yeah, I love that so much. I remember when you messaged me when you came back, I was like, oh my gosh, like, where have you been? Because we would have conversations all the time. And then all of a sudden, she's off the grid. I'm like, I don't know where she is. And when you messaged me, it was like, you were not even the same person. And it even got to the point where, you know, you can home now. You've had a conversation with me in the DMs. I've likely sent you a voicemail because I like to talk. But I'm like, you you had even gotten the courage, and I don't know how long it was after you came back, but you'd even gotten the courage to use the voice note feature as well. So like even confidence in like the smaller areas in your life have been actually very significant.
I
Yeah.
don't know how long it was. I was just, yeah, going off and not mentioning anything to anyone.
Yeah, that's like okay. So was that your first, like, I know you love to travel. Was that like your first like travel experience? Like, I know you went to what, Canada when you were younger, but was this like the first time you were like, no, I'm gonna go live somewhere else, regardless of what anyone says?
It was the first time I literally went somewhere to really stay and live there. And yeah, I think it's traveling that always changed with me. So you mentioned Canada, and was the story behind that was also so funny because I always wanted to travel, and my parents were so, no, you're not allowed to go on your own. And I was so mad at them. So I said, well, when I'm turning 18, you can't stop me because then I can decide for myself. So I said that warning when I was, I don't know, 15. And they were, oh, yes, you go on, do that warning. You won't, when you're 18, you won't be interested in traveling that far. So it was just them thinking I was not, yeah, honest, or like it wasn't the thing I wanted to do when I'm 18. And then I was 17 and something and said, well, I'm turning 18. So I was looking at some journeys, and my intention was actually to go to the US. So that's what I said. Like when I'm 18, I'm going to the USA and like do a round trip somewhere. And I don't know. I think Canada was just more interesting, but my parents were really surprised. Like, do you really want to go there? I was like, yeah, I'm 18.
I'm 18. I know everything. The teenagers are so interesting. They're fascinating. I love this so much. Okay, so you mentioned your spiritual journey really started with when you were a teenager. What did that look like for you then?
I think I first started when, well, at the time, I think it started 14 years old, that I had panic attacks and struggled. And I don't know who it was who said, well, maybe let's try some meditation or some other awareness techniques. And I was like, yeah, I can try. And couple years later, it was also energy work, but I don't know what she did. I just knew she called it energy healing.
Mhm.
And so it was just me getting into meditation at first. And I knew about the word Reiki, but I didn't really knew what it meant. So it came back when I was in Ireland again because there was a Reiki master. So that was the point where I said, well, it's the topic around energy healing has been around for, I don't know, quite some years. And then it hit me again in Ireland. And I guess, that's when it really was interested in all kind of that.
Wow. Isn't it so interesting that it takes that, and this has been a common theme I'm noticing, like, you know, we notice this anyway, but especially like as I've been doing like our IG lives with the women inside of our certification program, there's always been like, it's like it's been in front of you, but there's like a moment in time where something just clicks and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So good. Okay, so I would love for you to like I want to dive more into the spiritual journey, but because I know like literally you are someone that yes, you obviously experience fear, but you have such a way of just- we we've talked about this before, like calm confidence is when I see you or when I see you or I think of you, I think calm confidence always. And it's like you look the fear in the eye, and even if you're terrified, you still go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So talk to us about like what that has been like for you. Like, I know the answer to this, but have you always been like that? And how has that changed for you?
I guess I've been like that as a kid, like me saying, well, when I'm 18, you can't stop me.
How very Aries of you.
And I know that I was like kind of second guessing myself when I was like, oh shit, now I booked that flight to Canada and was scared of flying. I was like, oh damn it. Yes. I never been on an airplane on my own before traveling to Canada. And I don't know, I booked it like without stopping in between. I was like, oh, going all the way from Germany to Canada and no way to like jump out of.
That comes later.
Yeah, so I felt like that as a kid, like the typical Aries. And
Mhm.
then there was a time where it was quieter, like not that into scary thing. And it, I guess like 2 years ago, it came back again. And I know that I mentioned to my family, that's where the jumping out of an airplane comes from. And I know that I mentioned also to my family when when we were kids going to the mountains for holidays, where they had the paragliding people coming all down in front of the hotel where we stayed. I was like, I also want to go and do that. And they never believed me. And I guess 4 years ago, they gave me like a voucher to go skydiving. And that's literally what I did last year, I guess.
Oh, frick. No. Yeah, because I think about all of the things that you have done, even like some of the smaller things that we don't think of on a day-to-day basis, but are causing a sensation of fear in the body. And it's like, okay, I'm terrified and I'm gonna go anyway. I'm gonna move. And even like, the jumping out of an airplane. It's like, okay, well, let me go do something that feels thrilling and exhilarating that most people would think is scary, but this translates into other areas of your life. Like, as you're doing these things that are facing fear, how do you find that it translates into other areas?
I am no. I always say like when it comes to fear, I'm I have more than a healthy way of thinking about fear because others are like, oh, there's fear, so there's resistance, and they stop doing it or they don't move further. And for me, it's like the total opposite. So I say, oh, cool, there's fear, so there's something I need to do or something, um, yeah, I should go to, or that's where I want to go. So others use fear as a guide where not to go, and I use it as a guide where to go. And yeah, so I guess what I really learned from doing whatever scary part it is, like the thing with Canada and the plane, I didn't realize that like until 2 weeks before. And the skydive, I was aware of that. And yeah, I just it's just a couple of steps, and you learn it when you face that more often. Like for example, going into an airplane. It's not hard. You just have to walk in there, and so it's things that you can do, and it's usually just scary for a couple of seconds, minutes maybe, and then you love it, or the outcome is either you learn from it, like you say, that's nothing I want to do again, or I don't know, but you did it and you learned to like how to face the fears, and it's easier the next time.
Yeah. Gosh, I love what you said is that most people see the fear and there's resistance there and they use it as a reason to turn around, whereas you use it as a reason to move towards it because there's something there for you. That is like a total mic drop. And I think too, like there's so often like even when in the healing industry where it's like, oh, it's scary to like come out and share our abilities. And it is uncomfortable. And there's a lot of different layers with that. But it's like, well, what if I fail? I'm like, well, what if you fly? So, speaking of airplanes, we have to talk about this. What made you want to jump out of an airplane? I'm always going to ask you about this.
I don't know if there was like one reason I wanted to do it. I think it started like I said, like when I was a kid and saw all the parachutes and like that looks so cool and they look like they have fun doing it. And then I don't know, skydiving is something that's on a to-do list for most people, but usually they don't do it. No, like, well, I can do it. So you don't have to have a special training or something. You just can do it. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think a friend just called me. I don't know what she said. It complicated to translate to English, but she said something. You're like scared person, but also daring all those scariest things. Like, then there's what? Just two words in German. I don't know. I said,
No, that makes sense because it's like, oh, I'm terrified, but also I'm going to go do really scary things.
yeah.
And most people are gonna be like, it's not easy to hear out of an airplane. That is not on my to-do list. That is on my 16-year-old list to do. And I'm like, you're gonna have to find someone else. I know someone that you can go with.
I go again because, especially in the context of facing fears, it's like you're scared. So I've give me a second. When you're in the airplane, you're not afraid of like what's coming next. Like you're not afraid of the jump because the people are so relaxed in what they do. And the moment I started to panic was the moment they opened the airplane. And because the, the funny thing is, the one who's like able to open the parachute is sitting behind you and he's able to sit on the airplane and you're just hanging loose. And that's very scary because you don't sit on something, you just hang on that man behind you. And that's when you feel scared. But before you even realize how scared you are, you're already like out of an airplane and you can't think anything. And I don't know, a couple seconds later, even you're like, okay, now I'm flying. So what's scary? So you don't realize it's scary because you're just flying. And I just remember the first thing that I saw when I was able to think and look and like, where's up, where's down, where's left, where's right?
Not for
There was
all my exit.
there was a man who was like doing the video that I asked him to do. And he was just like, I would say it's like the bat, like the Batman thing. They just had a cape.
Oh yeah.
It was he was like standing in front of me and just waving at me. And I was like, you're so strange. You're just standing, but you don't have, like, there's no floor beneath you. So you're literally you're scared, like, the second you're hanging out of the airplane, and the flying part is fun. So
Yeah.
they say everyone is saying that usually they panic at the moment before jumping, and they tell them like, it's too scary now, and once you're in the air, you won't panic. They never had one who panicked after the jump.
It's But that really interesting because, like, when we tie this into like being a healer and putting our gifts out into the world in whatever capacity that looks like, it's always like the jumps that feel the scariest because when you're doing it, it's actually fun. It's actually fun. And like along the way, like down to the ground, so to speak, it's like it it it's freeing. Yeah, I've never jumped out of a plane. The only thing that I've ever done is parasailing where you're, like, tied to a boat, and I remember, like, that's probably about as scary as I'll get. And I do love roller coasters. I would say, like, this was so long ago, but I remember finally getting into the air, and I'm like, "This is so peaceful." Yeah.
And that's it. I think that's what you experience once you are out of the airplane, because after the first scary moment, I was like, now what do I do now? It's boring.
And, like, well, if I've had my adrenaline rush, what else can I do? I love this so much. So, okay, so I want to talk to you too about, hey, Michelle. Michelle, can you see Selena? I'm so curious. Nobody has called us yet. Okay, so I would love to talk to you about like your experience with quantum illumination Reiki. Because I know this is the first time that you have, like, I taught you in Untamed Healer how to play with energy work. And this is the first time that you're experiencing it. Of course, we are only one lesson in, but you've been experiencing quantum illumination for well over a year now. So, what is your experience? Okay, she can't see you. I just can't see you. Just so bizarre. I feel like I'm just talking to myself. I'm, I'm so curious on how this is gonna like say. Anyway, I digress. What has been your experience with quantum illumination Reiki? Someone who's received it for over.
I don't know. I feel the difference between the Reiki you did before, because that's how I got to know you. And I guess that one, I don't know. It's like, it's on one hand, it's more powerful, but also like not as powerful. I don't know.
Like not as Sarah and I were talking about this yesterday. It's like it's not as jarring to your nervous system.
It's more calm, black, and it's doing things like behind the scenes. So sometimes I am taking part in the Quantum Illumination Reiki group sessions, and you also know that I'm falling asleep after every time, or I'm asleep while I'm doing it. And usually, like, the aha moments or anything else is like coming days later, and it's like, what's that about? And so it's like sneaking in, and you don't really realize that it's doing the work.
Oh my gosh, I love this so much. Yeah, it's like more like I love to explain it where it's like it's more powerful and it heals higher or deeper and higher frequencies and less disruption to our nervous system where it's like when it's having purged. Nobody likes to be sick. Wait, and okay, so I already know the answer to this, but I would love to just for anybody watching the replay or live with us right now to hear this from you. Okay, when we were having a conversation about the certification program, you were just like, I've been ready." You were asking for it before, and you're, I don't know, probably like at least a year before I was like ready to launch. And you were actually the second person that signed up. And I'm like, oh, so for you, what was that? Did you have any hesitation at all? No. And what was that for you? Like, why do you think that was for you?
I think for me, like, also seeing like the journey I had with energy healing and Reiki, I know that for me, it was when I was in Ireland, I had really the first contact with Reiki. I like started to experience a little of it. And I don't know if it was around that time or a little later that you mentioned you are doing a Reiki school later on or at one point. And I was like, well, I knew at the time where I was been to Ireland that I wanted to learn that thing because I had so many interesting stories about it. And then you mentioned that you're starting one, and I was like, okay, I know which is China.
Can you feel the light between you and Erica and a few other of you? I know. And then it comes back to like the incinerating fear because saying like, oh, I'll have to do a separate live and talk about this or a podcast episode because there was a lot of fears I moved through when I was sending you guys the link even. So, so yeah, I love it so much. If someone was watching the replay or watching live, what would you say to them if they were thinking about joining our certification program? And what has your experience been so far inside? And we're like 3 days into it, keep in mind.
We are, but I just watched the replay. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So mm, I don't know. So I would say that it's definitely worth to join it. Like you just, yeah, you just sign up for learning something that you can use in your everyday life. So maybe if you had started the school or the training a year earlier, might have thought like, I'm not a healer or don't have a business, so why should I join? And it's not about that. Like I'm currently not really planning on starting a healing business. Although it like I don't know, 4 weeks ago it kind of seemed like it. I was very close to doing it because friends said like, let's just quit our jobs and like buy a stable and do something. And it was just a fun idea, but they literally mean it. Like they would do that. So I was like, why not? Because the ones that are like my observers in the exams that I have as student teacher, they just I don't know other stories, so I don't like them. So it was very. I would like to start that and just get the student teacher stuff. And other than that, it's just you learn something. I would call it a superpower that you can use in your everyday life.
That's fun.
Because you do it literally anytime, anywhere. You don't need something specific to have around or take with you. And yeah, you can either help yourself or others. Yeah, so that's why I'm calling it a superpower because for example, I've usually issues with migraine or severe headache, and I don't always have like my pills with me, the painkillers that I usually take, but I do know some Reikis. that I can't completely heal it, but it helps to the amount that I can drive home or go somewhere where I can get painkillers, and that's super helpful.
Yeah. Wait until we get like into the actual keys. Like you'll be able to optimize it. I'm confident of that. Like our first key that we'll learn is more based. It does a lot of things, but physical healing is one of the main things it does. So that'd be really useful for like headaches and any physical aches and pains. And I do love what you said, where it's like it doesn't matter if you have a healing business or not. You can literally use it for personal, and for you right now, that's what it is. And like even just the frequencies and changing your energy as well as a teacher. Like there's a few of you guys that are in the education system and various places in the world. And I think that's so amazing. Like I say this all the time, like the world needs more teachers like you. Literally, like I can't even imagine how different our education system would be if there were teachers that like cared so deep, like all teachers across the board cared so deeply And it's just so magical to see the ways in which you integrate healing in your healing journey and quantum illumination. We're excited to see how you integrate that into your own life as you decide what that gets to look like as you move forward.
Yeah. So I always say, like, I don't know when I said when if I was able to like decide which subject I wanted to teach, well, subject is not there yet. So I'm trying to implement that at our school, but they're really like, nah, it's not for the students. It's like for adults only. So yeah, we just have to
Isn't
wait till the others realize it's actually helpful also for like smaller, younger children, because some students I'm teaching are at the same age when I started to get into meditation, breathwork, and something. So I don't say they need to learn Reiki. I just say they need to like find tools, strategies on how to deal with the emotions, or even to put a name on them.
yeah. And yeah, like nervous system and emotional regulation is so useful. I don't know where I heard this quote. It's not mine, but it was if kids were so resilient, we wouldn't need therapy as adults. And I was like, yeah, yes. And if we were able to give our children or the children of the world access to tools, I'm holding the space with this. But I'm holding this for you because I'm like, this would be so epic and so just life changing for us. So, yeah. Okay. Um, Anything that we didn't cover that you were like, really wish we would talk about this?
I don't know.
No? Okay. I know we
Yeah,
covered a lot.
yeah. It just my message to everyone is like usually when like basically it's skydiving part, because many people are like, "Well, you did jump out of an airplane. That's crazy." And they even like some of them know some of my other fears, like climbing a ladder or something. And I'm afraid of being at the top. And I'm like, you're afraid of being at the top, but you jump out of an airplane. So they use that a lot. And I'm just saying, like, you just need to experience that. Like, you shouldn't be afraid to like step outside of the comfort zone and just do the things, because they say it's so cool that you jumped out of an airplane. And I was like, okay, let's go do it. I would do it again next summer or something. And they're like, I'm not doing it. And I was like, well, why are you laughing at me that I'm scared of climbing a ladder because I'm doing it? And you just mentioned it's so cool to jump out of an airplane, but you say you don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like literally if it's feeling like in alignment for you, or if it's like a fear that's there, it's like discovering what that is and then go like maybe an airplane isn't the thing, but it's like taking a leap
Yeah.
in something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, thank you. I'm sure your brain is like mush because you're bebop between several different languages all day. And you're calling that amazing. Any final word?
Not for me.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much, Selena, for joining us. I appreciate you so much. And yeah, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, you guys, thank you so much for taking the time to join. I love like this conversation of incinerating fear through aligned action and through moving without proof or moving without knowing what's next and just giving yourself permission to take a leap of faith and getting resourceful in how it is that you are going to make that happen. And I what I know to be true is that sometimes things just take some patience and some love and some compassion. And other times it's like, well, are we just sitting around and waiting for the fear to go away? Because that's not how the fear works. It's how it incinerates. Though there are ways to, yes, of course, alchemize it. But a lot of it comes through that beautiful aligned action and that divine masculine movement through like what's coming through with that feminine energy. And so where is it in your life that you are seeing something where it's like, I am terrified, and yet there's no forward movement. And what is one thing, I'll just say this to my clients, what is one thing that will feel good to have done and is possible to do? And then go do it. It's not that you have to go 0 to 100, but what is the first step? The first step, and allow yourself to stack the proof along the way. And this is going to support you in building confidence and incinerating fear. So I love this conversation so much. I also love that Selena is trusting her intuition and utilizing quantum illumination in a way that's in alignment for her and in her daily life. I think that's such a beautiful gift to give herself and those around her. And if you want to join our certification program, the doors officially close on the 31st of this month. So if you've been thinking about it, you've been seeing our IG lives, it's so much deeper than what it is that we've like what I've been sharing my stories. I talked about this recently. It's like I have a reel on this. Actually, it's right before this live. So go read that post. In 2 days, the things that have been coming to the forefront just in tapping into the energy in the quantum field have been literally life altering in 2 days. And we haven't even tapped into the keys yet. So, DME Quantum, this is our founders round. That means you're first in the world to learn the style of Reiki. And it also means special founders pricing after the 31st. The extended payments will go away. Also the founders pricing will increase. So, DME Quantum.